Well, some snow showers dotted parts of eastern Pennsylvania to southern New England, and there might actually even be a few more overnight and tomorrow morning as a little upper air disturbance finishes its playthrough. And then we're going to warm up into the weekend, which is going to culminate in a powerful cold front, strong winds, heavy rains in some of the colder places in western Pennsylvania and upstate New York and into New England. It's going to change over briefly to some heavy snow. We've got a few other things that are going on, including some nice weather in parts of the South and some heavy rains and snows that are coming into the Northwest. This is all going to be discussed in great detail. Oh, and at 8 o'clock, we're going to have a special guest. Meteorologist Dave Tolleris will be joining us because he has things to tell us. That's tonight's Joe and Joe Weather Show podcast, brought to you by Tempest by Weatherflow. Get the revolutionary Tempest weather system, and you too can join the fastest growing observing weather network on the planet. Tempest is an affiliate of the Joe and Joe Weather Show podcast. The link is pinned to the top of the chat board. It's also on the descriptor to this video. And if you do decide to purchase this or anything else, because they've got all sorts of wonderful weather gadgets and gizmos and even smart weather fashion, use the coupon code I want a weather station. And if you do, you get.
You will get 10% off.
So Rayo had a flurry today.
Yes, I did. Actually, it was I don't know. This morning, very teeny tiny flakes.
Are you sure they were teeny tiny flakes and not itsy bitsy flakes?
Bitsy? Well, they were either itsy bitsy or teeny tiny. Then
no, it's itsy weensy.
And then in the midday hours, as we were progressing to, the executive producer and I were going to the Jefferson Valley Mall, which is only a fraction as big as it used to be from when we first moved up here 20 years ago, because social media and Amazon is putting malls out of business all around the United States.
Oh, good God.
In any case, by then, what?
No, nothing. Go on.
The big story at the Jefferson Valley Mall, by the way, is that to be decided, Henry Winkler is going to make an appearance.
Oh, that's
he made an appearance at the mall some couple of months ago or whatever, and I said, "Look at that, Henry Winkler, Fonzie. He's coming to the Jefferson Valley Mall. You know how the mighty have fallen." And I guess that when he went or when he came, he must have had a big crowd because they're bringing him back. So,
well, why would you say how the mighty have fallen?
Well, I mean, like you couldn't get Joe in his happy days times, 20,000 kids. You couldn't get anywhere near him.
That was 40 plus years ago.
I understand that, but I mean, like, look what has happened now. Now he
does movies.
I think he's trying to sell his memoir.
No,
or whatever.
he does. He's done movies. He directs. He produces. Yeah. I mean,
why the Jefferson Valley Mall?
I don't know. Perhaps he's got a personal tie to the Jefferson Valley Mall. I have no idea. We'll have to. He may be someone that lurks in the background on the Joe and Joe Weather Show. Maybe he could come on the chat board as Fonzie and tell us why he's at the Jefferson Valley Mall.
Yeah, well, he's certainly welcome to come on.
Okay. Welcome, everybody. Our regulars are all on the chat board, just waiting to hear what's going to happen and maybe see what Dave Tolleris has to say. As he's put out a pretty bullish view for the winter. He did earlier on his preliminary, and I think he doubled down on his final winter forecast. So he's got a few other things to talk about that I think you'll find interesting. And he's going to be joining us in about 19 minutes. Okay, it's 7:41 p.m. Eastern Time. Those of you who are watching but not on the chat board, we extend an invitation for you to join the conversation because we're here Sunday through Thursday at 7:35 p.m. And we are up. We will do a show on a Friday or a Saturday if there is a storm going on. So I think this week we're not going to do it because this is all going to happen Sunday night. So Sunday night's show should be interesting, Joe, because that's when this cold front's going to come through.
I'm probably not going to have power by then. Actually, we were trying to figure out why on the tabular GFSX, the extended forecast generated from the GFS, why they don't have any strong winds being indicated. And I figured it out today, Joe. The reason is that when we see the numbers, we're seeing late Sunday or Sunday afternoon, and then the next round is early Monday morning. This thing that's going to descend
it's a 6 hour window.
Is going to come during the right between the two time frames
Right.
during the middle of the night, and so the tremendous winds and rain are going to be falling through a crack, so to speak, if you're relying just solely on those numbers, and that's why you're not seeing anything amazing in terms of significant winds. The winds are like fairly gusty, like 18 or 20 miles an hour Monday morning, but what comes our way, like midnight or 1, 2 in the morning on Monday, that's when the storm is going to be at its worst. And that's when I probably will, well, I hopefully will have power when we do the show on Sunday evening. But the question is, what's going to happen Monday morning? I mean, what will be the aftermath of all of this with this very, very sharp weather front that's going to be moving through our area? This really is like the equivalent of a 40-ton Mack truck getting ready to roll over us Sunday night late into early Monday.
Well, I will tell you, there's about a 6 hour difference between the GFS and the European in terms of arrival and start and finish. One of the things the GFS does on the wind forecast, and I'll pull it up in a little bit with the off of pivotal weather to show specific forecast gusts. It's now come up uh, very close to the Europeans' numbers, which were on the high end yesterday. It was producing 75-mile-an-hour wind gusts in some places. The GFS was more like 45 to 50. Now it's gotten up into the mid 60s. But the other difference, so it comes through, the front comes through faster on the GFS. The other thing is that the European takes much longer for the winds to subside, because when I was looking at the winds for 7 a.m., the gusts were already down to 30 or less, whereas at the 1 a.m. time frame they were up in the 50s and 60s. So it really kind of drops it off really fast. Where the European still has the winds, so just shift the time frame by a few hours. The European still has those strong winds going on at 6 or 7 a.m. and it actually takes longer. The European has a bit of a tighter gradient behind it, so it takes longer for those winds to subside. But the bottom line is, I think either way, there's going to be a 6 hour period of very heavy rain, probably some thunderstorms in the mix. And I certainly, wouldn't be surprised if we wind up seeing gusts at 50 or 60 miles an hour. So uh, I'm thinking wind advisory criteria for inland areas and high wind warnings up for the coast will probably be in play.
It looks like that's going to be the ultimate scenario, and it does look like a very potent system, not only just at the surface, but I mean, if you take a look, and we'll probably will take a look at the upper levels, the 500 millibar level, and you could see how tightly the height lines are relative to each other. The gradient is rather strong, even upstairs, and you can actually see the line, the trough, if you will, rapidly swinging across our area in the overnight hours of Sunday night, Monday morning. So this looks like a system that's really loaded for bear, Joe, and it will be interesting to see what the aftermath is going to be to kick off next week. This weekend we're going to take advantage here at the house of the 55-degree temperatures on Saturday and lack of any wind to set up our outdoor decorations. In fact, we'll probably start doing it on Friday. One of the things we have are a couple of reindeer that go out on the front lawn. And looking at these winds, I'm wondering whether or not Sunday night those reindeer are going to learn how to fly.
Well, yeah, I think that's probable. Satellite loop tonight is showing still dealing with weak disturbances in the east. One is playing through this evening, and then if you look over to the Great Lakes, there's another one that's coming southeastward, and that might bring a few snow showers around tomorrow morning in parts of eastern Pennsylvania and maybe even into parts of New Jersey. I think it's probably going to slide just south of you, but I certainly wouldn't rule it out as these systems roll along. And then after that, if you look in the middle of the country, it's pretty nice. Then you go to the West Coast, and we're starting to see the beginnings of that energy that's coming in that's going to be making this cold front slash storm system into the eastern part of the United States later in the weekend. The radar right now, as we load it up, so you can see there's two separate areas here. Here's, this is what's going on this evening across central PA into northeast PA. We've got some areas of snow showers, also up I-81 between Binghamton and Syracuse. And then there's another batch near and west of Albany. And that area is generally sliding southeastward. And we also have this stuff up here in the Great Lakes that's moving fairly quickly, that's sliding southeastward as well. So we'll watch both these areas play out in the overnight period. And in the west, some heavy rains are now nearing San Francisco, raining moderate to heavy across much of Northern California. Up into Oregon, kind of lightened up a bit in Washington State. Some of that moisture now moving up into eastern Washington and into northernmost North Dakota. Let's see. You know what? I got to bring up. Well, first of all, I got to close this window because this is going to create a problem if I leave it open. So we'll get rid of that. And I should have let my folks on my weather app know that the show has started, so they're going to catch it a little late. All right, let's see what SPC is doing because they did have severe weather indicated in their long range, and they still do. We'll go to Friday first, and this is Friday into Saturday. You can see there's a marginal risk in eastern Oklahoma and in western Arkansas, and then day 4, which is the first day in the long range, and they've kind of just carried it over from yesterday, where they have a 15%, which is equivalent to a slight risk for severe weather in eastern Texas, much of Louisiana except the southeast, western Mississippi, and also in much of Arkansas and southwestern Tennessee. I got a feeling that this is going to wind up being expanded a bit as we get closer. I wouldn't shock me if we wind up with an enhanced in there.
Well, Joe, the way this front, and I must apologize because I really didn't have much time today to look or study the maps. I am studying them, scrutinizing them very carefully now over the last 10 or 15 minutes. And from what I see, there could very well be a line of, and I don't know what SPC is going to do for Sunday or even Monday morning. Maybe, perhaps put us in a area of at least general thunderstorm coverage. But this system that's coming in certainly seems to have enough potency, enough lift to it for us to be concerned maybe in a few places of possible severe weather. And I know that's kind of weird to say because what I'm alluding to is happening in the middle of the night in early December. And you don't often see that in early December, the threat locally of severe weather. But this, if there's going to be a system that's going to do it, this could be the system that does it for overnight Sunday.
Did we not? Wasn't it last December that we had tornado watches up?
Well, I do remember in 2021 that there were tornadoes that ravaged a large part of the Ohio Valley in December. So, I mean, it's not like it has never happened before. It has certainly happened, and I can't remember off the top of my head if we locally had some sort of severe outbreak in December.
I thought we did last year. I could swear we did. November, I'm pretty sure we did. I thought maybe it was also in December, but I could be wrong on that.
Yeah.
WPC has loaded up for rain, which is good, especially in the drought areas in the south, with a fairly extensive area of an inch plus, and in the purple it's an inch and a half, and in these little splashes of red. It's 2 inches plus, and you can see they pretty much run up through the Tennessee Valley, up the Appalachians, Western Virginia, West Virginia, much of Pennsylvania, much of New Jersey to New York City, Western Connecticut, Massachusetts, and then on up into upstate New York. I also think that there's going to be a changeover to snow Sunday night into Monday morning on the backside of this in areas in central PA, the Poconos, maybe the Catskills, and points northward. It might be, I think it's going to be accumulating snow in those areas. In the Northwest, several inches of additional rainfall is forecast over the next 7 days. And WPC, this is are you still there, Joe?
I'm still here.
Yeah, I've just been, I just want to, I don't know if your folks are hearing, I heard a weird beep. I've been hearing weird beeps tonight in my headsets. I'm not sure why. One just happened again, but I don't know where they're coming from. So here's the probability for at least two in the next 72 hours. So this takes us through Saturday night. And it's rather busy in the west, fairly high probabilities in Colorado, western Wyoming, Idaho, back over in the Cascades, and also up in the northern Rockies, and also in some places up in northernmost North Dakota and on the Canada side of all of this. But on the long range from WPC, these maps are refreshing themselves. Okay, well that works for me. So this is Sunday into Monday, and this is kind of early, so this may get beefed up a little bit tomorrow. But they've got a 10 to 30% chance for at least a few inches from western North Carolina, western Virginia, on and up through West Virginia, and there's one green area there between 30 and 50%, probably just north and west. That's where I-81 goes into West Virginia before it cuts east, and then up through much of central and northwest PA, northern Ohio, southeast Michigan. You can see a good chunk of upstate New York is covered in it. The Poconos are kind of on the edge. The Catskills are just inside that light green area. Again, look for that too. I think they're going to expand that a little bit when we get there. So let's look at the GFS, shall we?
Surely.
And why not? Okay, so I'm going to just backtrack here. The models have kind of locked into this idea with this cold front for the last few days, and now we're at Wednesday, so it really hasn't varied very much. There was a time, at least, out 96 hours, that there would still be a lot of variability, but lately they seem to be, especially in this particular system, they've pretty much locked in. And you got this front, and of course, with this strong southerly inflow, bringing Gulf moisture and Southwest Atlantic moisture just getting all involved. Now, I've just pushed the map over to Sunday, and this is Sunday morning, and the gradient gets pretty tight. The low is in southeast Ohio, then it goes into upstate New York, western New York. Rain's coming in during the afternoon. Again, the GFS is about 4 to 6 hours faster than the European. And then you can see what's happening here where the gradient is very tight, big rains in that 6 hour time frame. Oh, that rain comes down so quick, you wonder whether there might be some localized flooding with this. And then on the backside, you notice that there is some blue being indicated, not a lot, but it's there. And the models seem to be getting a little colder with every run behind the front. And then and this heavy rain, by the way, goes all the way up into New England. And then it pulls out. I mean, you look at the GFS and it would say that the rain would start arriving between 1 and 7 p.m. and that most of it is done. It's pretty much done by 7 a.m. except maybe in eastern Long Island and southeast New England and points north. The European would say it comes in, say, after 9 or 10 o'clock at night, which leaves the day side Sunday dry, and then it doesn't go out until maybe about 9 or 10 o'clock in the morning on Monday. It's just a matter of, I don't know if we should necessarily spend a lot of energy figuring out which models got the correct. It's only about a 4 hour start time difference. We're not going to be able to solve that now.
Well, if you look at the upper level maps, And is
Well,
it when?
let's do that. Which one would you like to see the F Gen?
Well, we'll take a look at the 700 millibar vorticity for Sunday night, and somewhere between, let's say, Albany and the elevated region of out in the westernmost part of the Hudson Valley, Sullivan County, maybe the Poconos.
Right in here,
Uh, yeah,
like
I mean, there is, I think, the potential. I think you already alluded to this, Joe, that there's going to be a potential for a change to some from heavy showery rains to a burst of some heavy snowfall, and somebody in those higher elevations from between the Poconos to just west of Albany, I think could end up with a few inches or more out of this of snow because of the sudden quick changeover and the rapid progression of that trough as it sweeps on through our area again Sunday night. So I mean, this is a very, very active weather scenario that we're facing for Sunday night. Look at those two bands there on the map that Joe has brought up. Those two areas of red is vorticity, very strong vorticity that's being indicated. And this is again for 06Z Monday, 1 a.m. Monday. And the first band is getting ready to go across the immediate tri-state area, followed by a secondary band over in eastern Pennsylvania. That'll be probably rolling through our area toward daybreak on Monday morning. So,
by the way,
wow.
we should point out also that before it gets there, now this is Saturday night. If you look across, this is where SPC had their risk for East Texas, Louisiana, Arkansas, and Mississippi, and you could see those jet streaks there, and that's impressive. I always like to look at the 700 millibar to look at these, the jet streaks, because oftentimes if that mixes down, you can wind up with rotation. So I'm wondering whether there might be, as I said earlier, that you could see an enhanced risk of severe weather show up there, and who knows, and probably maybe even some tornado risk with this. As it moves across the south, but yeah, that's pretty impressive. And I'll because I know you like the map, Joe. I'm going to bring up
The F-Gen.
the FGen. So we
Yeah.
did yesterday, so we'll do it again today. And here it is. I mean, this is at. So I'll just back it up. So this is at 1 p.m. and what you look at this area here. I mean, just pretty much shows frontogenesis, frontal forcing, and that's the area. And when you see it like that, where it's all those purple lines are crossing, that's impressive. And this is very impressive. This is Sunday evening at 7 p.m. and this is 1 a.m. Monday.
Oof.
That's crazy. I mean, that's really that's impressive.
It is. It literally is going to rip through here in the overnight after midnight hours of Sunday night, Monday morning.
By the way, I'm looking at these wind barbs here. I mean, 80 knots, 90 knots, just off the south shore of Long Island, 70 knot winds up in southern New England. This again is up at 10,000 feet. So this is a pretty strong jet that's getting involved in all of this. A very, very deep trough indeed.
Cecilia Hernandez, by the way, is asking how high up is 700 millibars. He said, pardon me, senor, how much? Well, Cecilia, it's about 10,000 feet. That's is considered by many to be the top of the lower part of the atmosphere. Is 10,000 feet, 700 millibars. So that's what we're talking about.
Yes, and then of course it goes out. And I just want to go to the 850. Let's look at the 850 since we got the map up. We might as well look at the 850. I mean, this is the 850, Joe. Look at that. I mean, that's crazy. And by the
It's
way, you could also see at 1 a.m., the zero at 850 is on the Pennsylvania-New Jersey border. And then you go a handful of miles to the west of that, it's minus 3. And in central PA and upstate New York, and as you mentioned up in the Albany area, Albany's already down to between 0 and minus 3. The minus 6 is right behind it. By Monday morning, you see the minus 6 there. I'm going to get pivotal weather up. Now, Hang on one second. And okay, hold on, folks. So we could actually see what the European did specifically in terms of wind gusts. So this will just take me a moment to bring the map up and set it up. All right, one second here. Let's log in. Okay, so all right, we'll start with the GFS. I'm going to go to local, pick Eastern PA to Southern New England, change this to 10-meter wind gusts, and we can change this to forecast loop to make it easier for me. And okay, everything's on the screen. Just give me a moment here.
I guess Mr. Tolleris is late.
No, well, you know what? I'm a stickler for time. I just admitted him. He's coming. Here he is. He's arriving. All right, David, just hang on a second. Okay, I'm doing the winds, the wind forecast gusts for off the GFS and the European. Are you with us? The beauty of live television.
Yes, I'm here.
Okay, hang on. All right, so just bear.
I saw what you're doing.
Okay, great, terrific. Even Dave watches the show.
Yes.
All right, hang on. So here we go. So let's start with. So this is the GFS, and remember, as I said, Joe, the GFS wind gust forecasts have come up closer to the European. Not that they were that far off yesterday, but the European seemed like really high. All right, so this is at 1 p.m. Sunday. It's already gusting to 43 at Islip, 36 in New York City, 38 Trenton, 36 in Philadelphia, 39 Wilmington, 43 Scranton. Then at 4 p.m., we've got 44 at Brentwood, 41 at Bridgeport, 42 in New York City. Philadelphia is at 42. And now here comes the big wind. So this is at 7 p.m., 53 at Long Branch, 48 New York City, 48 Islip, Toms River, 46. Oh, come on. All right, here we go. 4 p.m., where are you? 7 p.m., 10 p.m., 55 miles per hour gust at Toms River, 67 at Long Branch, 55 in Brentwood, 52 in New York City, 55 at Yonkers. But then, because the GFS is faster with this front, the winds have already dropped off. Like Bridgewater, for example, is down in New Jersey, is down to 28. Allentown 30, Scranton 24, Oneonta 24. This is at 10 o'clock Sunday night. This is off the.
And these are inland areas away from the coast.
Right. So the GFS has it coming in faster. Now I'll go to the European, the 12Z, and do the same thing. So just give me a moment here, and I'll bring the wind map up. It gives me the link, and there it goes. All right, so let's go to 96 hours. So 96 hours is 7 a.m. Sunday. And then, 1 p.m., I don't know, it's like 20 to 30. At 7 p.m., it's wind gusts mostly between 35 and 40 for PA, New Jersey, upstate New York, Western Connecticut, Western Mass. At 1 a.m. at Toms River, 52, Long Branch 51, New York City 51, Bridgewater 47, Trenton 47, Philadelphia 48. And then at 7 a.m., this is 7 a.m. Monday, Vineland, New Jersey 62, Philadelphia 48, Trenton 57, Toms River 67, Long Branch 68, Brentwood 69, Yonkers 69, New York City 72, Joe, 72 miles an hour. 50 to 60 across all of southern and central New England, 45 to 50 inland. And then by 1 p.m., even at 1 p.m., see, this is where I found it, kind of odd. I mean, it's blowing away in eastern half of Long Island, southeastern New England. It's still gusting to like 35 to 45 from eastern Pennsylvania over into western Long Island and western Connecticut. So since we have our guest Dave Tolleris with us, I'm just going to bring us full screen here just for a moment so that you could see his wonderful, handsome face, his manly stature as he's here, and we're happy. So Dave, with this system on Sunday, I mean, really does, in all seriousness, it does look like, a real powerhouse here. But how do you rectify the differences between the GFS and the European in terms of timing and in terms of the duration? Because the European seems to, get it in a little later, but it also lasts longer, and the winds are somewhat higher. Although the GFS is closer, the winds are somewhat higher, and going into the first part of Monday.
Well, my experience is first, what I want to do is want to take a look at the overall pattern. And we have this very strong ridge ahead of the trough, which is why the trough compacts and why the winds get so strong. And as you pointed out, the photogenetic force becomes so intense. So that would tell me that the slower solution is probably the correct one. So I would, if the European is the slower solution, I would lean towards the European with the slower solution, but also with the higher winds as well. So I think that is the correct way to play this. I think the GFS is probably too fast with it. Now, if this was a pattern when we had an Arctic front sweeping through and you had no monster ridge, ahead of the trough axis, that would be different. But that's not what we're seeing here. This is a pretty big ridge ahead of it.
Well, oftentimes, yeah. Oh, I'm sorry. I was just going to say, oftentimes the GFS in cases like this where there's an offshore high tries to break it down too quickly. So that would be another reason to check the box off and say that, well, maybe the Europeans got the better idea that it gets in a little later and that it takes longer for that front to play through.
Right.
Joe Rayo was pointing out, and we talked about this earlier, was the fact that it does seem to indicate that there could be a changeover to snow with accumulating snows across interior PA, particularly northern PA, up in the southwestern and southern New York, the middle and upper Hudson Valley, and points northward.
I agree with that idea very strongly. I think that is correct. I wanted to see if the 18Z's out of it is. I wanted to see if it was doing anything with the snow and that, and go here, the snowfall.
I can bring that up on the screen.
No, it does. It only goes out that far. I don't know if that doesn't go that far. Let me see if the 18Z ensemble is out. No.
Hang on, I may have them.
It is actually, so that's good. So I can do that. Surface winter, 2 days, inches. See what's going on with that. Aha! The plot thickens, my friends. New England. Yeah, by Sunday morning, by Monday morning, it does have snow in the Catskills. There's no doubt about it. The 18Z European does have snow in the Catskills on the ensemble.
Ensemble.
Yeah, not a huge amount, but it's got some, and that's only till closing Monday. So you might still be getting precipitation. Let me see if it's with the New England in terms of the front.
Well, I have the operational. I'm going to put the operational GFS up on the screen.
Yeah.
The 18Z, so we could take a look, and it certainly looks like it's more than the 12Z. I'm going to go to put it at 100.
There's no doubt that a 12Z. There's no doubt a 12Z Monday is still precipitating in the eastern Pennsylvania, New Jersey, and New York City, from what I can see.
Right.
It's still doing it. So that's when the change is over. That's when the change is over. So.
And I'm just running this through. I don't know, but I've become a fan of looking at the 0Z run from last night,
Sure.
okay, because it goes out to now on the ensembles, and now it goes out to
Ah,
840 hours, and there's a snow map for that, believe it or not.
yes.
But one of the things I said the other day when I was looking at it, I actually think that it's from the standpoint of it being an ensemble, and it's only out to 384 yet, so they haven't really added anything new. But the only thing uh, I find it useful just to look at it to see because it's so smoothed out by the time you get, as you get deeper into the long range. You know how the GFS loves to uh, make 932 lows in the Gulf of Maine and put 50-inch snow amounts with some of these storms. But with the ensembles just sort of, given this sort of broad brush average smoothing, um, I think it's useful to look at to see if the trend, where the trend is in terms
Sure.
of, the southern end, where the southern boundary is, where the southern boundary maybe of 6 is, just to give you an idea of what the overall pattern might be like.
Yeah.
It's not out yet, so,
Yeah, I just ran the 18Z European Ensemble, which takes us to Tuesday midday.
okay.
And it has 6 inches of Binghamton, and it's got 1.7 inches just where that far northwest tip of New Jersey, New York, and Pennsylvania meet.
All right. Well,
So,
after that goes by, after this mess
yeah,
goes by, next week looks pretty quiet. Doesn't
very
look like
quiet,
much. Very quiet.
very quiet.
And then after that, we start to look at, we come at that point to, what is it, the weekend of the 16th, 17th?
Right.
So now we're starting to think, okay, is this going to be the beginning of what anytime I look at pattern changes, um, I always view them as long grinding processes. They
Correct.
seldom, every once in a while, you'll get a pattern change where there'll be a system that's so dominant, so overwhelming that it's almost as if it's like a finger snap and you're in one pattern one day and then a new one in the next. But that's rare. Most of the time, it's a grinding process that takes a couple of weeks to play out. So, that to me, if what I've been looking at, it's around that time frame. And I watched part of your video because I had to start the show. I only got to see about
Sure.
30 minutes of it. Um, I think that's the point where things will start to change.
Sure.
Where they ultimately wind up, I don't know. But I want to ask you because you did finalize your winter forecast, and you have not really backed off from the idea that the winter when we get into January and February and March, that it's going to be a I don't want to come up with some cliched line, but it's basically going to be a very busy, active winter weather season
Yeah.
for the East.
Yep. I like that idea a lot. The new European climate model came out. I actually downloaded some of them. I don't know if I can share the screen. Am I doing
Yeah,
not?
go ahead. You can go. You're all set to go. So just go ahead and do it.
What do I have to do? Share screen?
You can
What do I have
share
to
a
do here?
screen.
Okay, let me see here. Call up this map here, and then okay, so
Joe, you didn't say hello to David.
Hello, David.
Okay, so let me see here if this is going to work. I don't want to do that. Let's see here. Where did it? Oh, I see where the Zoom screen is. Okay, so there's the share screen.
There you go.
Okay.
You did this you did this the last time that you were on.
Yeah, I remember. All right, so here's the thing: is a lot of folks are talking about the pattern change.
Try to make your graphic bigger.
Yeah, I'm going to kit it up in a second here.
Okay.
Let's see here. Let's see if this works. Okay, can you see that?
Yes.
Okay, so this is what a lot of people, the phase 8, right? That's where the pattern change happens in December. That's where it gets cold and stormy. And this is the GFS on the left-hand side, the CFS on the right. And if you notice, you see the red lines and the blue lines and the purple lines. That's where it goes into phase 3, 4, 5, and 6, and 7. So phase 3 is very mild in the eastern United States. You see that phase 4, 5, and 6. But the issue is around December 20th, both of these models have it going into phase 8, and a lot of people are thinking that by Christmas we'll be in a totally different pattern, and that's fine. The problem is that if I go to the other one, which is here. This is the European MJO. Now, the European, look what it does. It goes back into the neutral circle. It does that. So some of the members are in phase 8, but not all of them. So there's a little uncertainty as to whether or not it's going to get into phase 8 before Christmas. So that's one problem right there. The other problem is, so I do think it's going to head that way, but the issue is the timing. So let me see here. This here, now the good news is that, well, let's take a look at some examples of what I'm talking about here. So this is the GFS 240 hour. Let me blow up a little bit so you can see. This is the European, excuse me. Now, we have a nice ridge on the west coast. We have a trough in the eastern Pacific, another trough in the southern jet stream, and the polar vortex is is up north Hudson's Bay, Baffin Island. But we still have a ridge over the eastern United States. So this is an okay pattern for cold, but this is not a snowstorm pattern at all. Now, this is December. This is valid December, I think that would be 16th, right? So we're not there yet, okay? We're not expected to be there yet. But we are going to get high pressure coming down from Western Canada. It's going to be seasonally cold, and this is dry. It's not anything of significance. The European is doing the same sort of thing. But here's the 360-hour GFS. Now, this looks a little more promising, but we got even here, but this is problems now. This is December 22nd. So here we have the polar vortex is in the Gulf, is in Alaska. And whenever the polar vortex in Alaska, it's always the kiss of death for East Coast winter storms, because you always get a ridge on the East Coast that teleconnects. So this polar vortex here in Alaska teleconnects to the ridge on the East Coast. Now, what's happening here is that the vortex is splitting, and it's beginning to move towards Hudson's Bay. That's where the white arrow goes. It's beginning to shift, and that causes the ridge to leave the East Coast, goes up towards eastern Canada. And then we get a trough over the Midwest, all right? And we have a bit of a ridge on the West Coast, but you're still not ejecting any really cold air into the eastern U.S. So this looks like a Midwest rainstorm or an Appalachian rainstorm on December 22nd, because you have no, and the NAO is not negative. You have no 50-50 low by Canada. So this looks like a Midwest trough with rain on the coast, snow inland. Not a big deal, but begins to change more significantly later on. Let me show you here. This is the European Weekly. I want to make sure I got the right one here. Let me move my over. Okay. Now the European Weekly has been showing this now for a couple of days. The European Weekly has been showing this for several days. It's going bonkers. It's much more aggressive with the December 25 weather pattern. This is December 24th. Here, and this is today's run. Okay, you have a strong ridge on the West Coast. Notice the vortex is split. It's moved away from Alaska into the Bering Sea. Okay, you have a positive, you have an NAO block in Greenland. You have a trough in the northern jet stream across the Great Lakes, and the southern trough over the southern states, and then some sort of negative anomalies in southern jet stream. Now, this looks promising as all hell, okay, for like some sort of winter storm right around Christmas or just before Christmas. But the European ensemble is much more bullish about this. So there is that. And then this one, let me see what this one is the GFS ensemble, but the GFS doesn't get that pattern here until this is December 29th.
Hang on, Dave. I just lost. No, you're there. I lost your video there for your picture for a moment. Whoops.
Yeah, this is the GFS.
That's not good.
So you can see it's got a ridge on the West Coast. It's got some blocking. The troughs are there. But it takes until the 29th of December before we get to that pattern.
Hey, Dave, do me a favor. Would you do me a favor, please? Can you unshare and share your window back again? I may have accidentally done something here that I got to bring it back up on the screen on my side. So if you can unshare and then share again, that might help. Let's see. Let's see. Pray. Nope, that didn't work. Try it one more time.
Okay.
Right. Hang on, I guess I'm gonna hit I cannot do it. What does it want to come back up? All right, folks, I'm sorry about this. This is my, a technical difficulty on my end. I'll keep trying. I guess all I can say is
All right. So are the images coming up at all?
hold on. I'm just trying to fix it now. Let's see if this works.
I'm seeing a map of the El Nino.
Yeah, I know. I put that up there. I'm trying to get
Okay.
the zoom shot of us, and it's not doing it. All right. One more time, Dave, to just unshare unshare. All right.
I hit stop share.
All right, stop share. Now hold it there for a minute. Let's see if I can get the image, get us back up on the screen. Nope. Oh God. This happens with Joe sometimes, and usually I just kind of switch this around.
Lindy says too many hands in the pot tonight.
Oh, this is very frustrating.
I think we saw enough, though, of Dave's graphics to understand that for all those who have been on the chat board, and for all those people who have been watching our show over recent days and even recent weeks and saying, that's it, we're not going to have a winter. I think...
I don't know why people say that in December. And I'll tell you what it is, Joe.
On December 6th, because they're 5-year-olds. That's why.
Well, I'll tell you what it is. Back in mid and November, the extended models were showing a block, if you remember, developing Greenland early December.
Right.
Okay. And what a lot of people know is that if you get a block in Greenland, a negative NAO, that means the pattern is turning winter, it's going to turn cold, it's going to snow, which, of course, that's not what the negative NAO means. The negative NAO is part of a whole system of things which have to be in place to get your ideal winter pattern. You have to have, remember, there's the Atlantic side of North America and the Pacific side of North America. The Atlantic side consists of the Arctic Oscillation and the NAO. They were both negative going into December, the end of November, after Thanksgiving. The Pacific side is a disaster. It's being driven by the powerful El Nino. You've had a huge trough on the West Coast. Okay, got a big trough in Alaska, the polar vortex in Alaska. That's not the same thing. So what happens is you're getting warm Pacific energy overrunning the country, and it's crashing up against the block in Greenland, but it's not doing anything. And there were people out there, including some meteorologists out there, who were saying, "Oh, look at the block in Greenland! Here comes December. Get on the snow train."
The thing, Dave.
That's not the way it works.
Right. The negative NAO, which I have always said and continue to say, is vastly overrated. But that's a conversation for another day.
By itself, it is. With right.
If you don't have the negative EPO, you need to have, or at least a neutral EPO, but you really would like to have a negative East Pacific oscillation. Otherwise, it's sort of dirty cold air that you get in the East with the NAO, and because the Pacific is so screwed up, that cold air, just like what we're getting today and tomorrow, okay, is going to go out.
Right.
Because you're going to have your ridges and troughs all in the wrong place anyway.
Right. That's exactly what it is. And people got worked up over it. And of course, the NAO fell apart. And now they think that the winter's done. Now, the other thing is, all of these climate models back in September and October and November kept saying December was a non-winter month in the eastern U.S. They kept putting the mean trough in the Rockies and the West Coast. And that has not changed. That's where all the energy is. Look at the jet stream map today. Look at it tomorrow. That's going to bring this rainstorm. It's in the western U.S. right now. So the climate models got December exactly right from September, from October, from November. They got it right. Now these same climate models are going balls to the wall in January, February, and March.
Right.
Is it possible the same climate models which have gotten December right for the past 3 months could suddenly turn out to be completely wrong? Yeah, it's possible.
It's possible.
But I wouldn't bet money on, boys and girls.
It could be.
So,
well, I hope it just doesn't turn into one of those things where it's like you're forever waiting for the pattern change that doesn't ever come.
Yeah.
Something like last year where we've had, models on occasion would show that pattern breaking down. And I mean, it did break down twice, once at Christmas time with that bitter cold blast, and that lasted
Right.
3 days. And then in early February when we had a bitter cold blast, and that lasted 3 days.
But and interestingly enough, Joe, is that the climate models from last year were going crazy with the third year of La Nina. Always insisted that December and January were not going to be cold and snowy months. So what happened is the medium range models around Christmas time started going crazy for January, and then they backed off. Okay, right. I got caught up into it. I thought to myself, "Oh my God, the climate model! No, climate models got to be exactly right. No, the medium range models got it wrong, but the climate models got it right." So what I'm saying here is that around December 20th. Is when the pattern change is going to happen. Whether or not it's in place for Christmas, I don't know. Certainly the last week of December, I think it's in place. I agree with that. And I'm very bullish about January, February.
All right, let's address it. By the way, I was able to get you up full screen.
Joe, try it here.
Joe Rayo, do you have a question for him?
No, I everything that he has said, I think we have been saying over and over and over again for many days and many weeks that December is going to be kind of a slack month. And if you really want wintry weather, wait a little while. I've been saying, weather or meteorology is not made for instant gratification. Everything is not going to happen instantly. It's going to take some time. But in time, we're going to see that transition to wintry weather. And all of you, or all of those who have been saying, another winter where we're going to go nowhere with cold and snow, you'll be eating your words, I think, by the time we get to early next year.
Another point is, if you look at December since the year 2000, there've been a few, but how many big snows we've had in December since 2000?
Well, I mean, there was an anniversary of one yesterday.
The 2000 and 2003 storm, which was 20 years ago.
Okay. But then you had 20, you
had 09, which but those are relatively
you had one in 09. You had one in 09, and you had another one in 10.
But if you look at snowfall in December,
it is rare. It's only happened. We mentioned this yesterday. I think in New York City weather records, it's only happened 13 times for like a 10-inch or more snowfall over 150 years or whatever it is.
Right.
So yeah, it's like once every 10 years you get a big snow.
My point is that you can see that the temperatures in the last 20 years in December are significantly warmer than they were in the 70s and 80s and 90s. You can see the number of snowstorms is down significantly. Now, on the other hand, March has become a continuation of February. The number of snowstorms which have occurred in March and the temperatures are significantly colder, in my view, than they were 20 years ago.
Well, just I hesitate because I don't want to sound like I'm correcting you. The 70s, 80s, and 90s, at least when it was specifically to southeastern New York, Long Island, southern New England, and so on, in the month of December, that was the least 30 years in terms of that 30-year period, least snowiest Decembers in that 30-year period. The 2000 to 2020 period, the normal snowfalls actually doubled, more than doubled, and went back to the long-term average, which is close to 6. But either way, but your point is well taken with respect to what you're saying with everything else. And we've had falls that have seemed to have started later. We've had winters that seem to have been getting extended through March and even into April in some years, not every year. But maybe that's what this year is going to be. I even said to Joe, what we're seeing this weekend is something that you normally would see in November rather than in December. Sort of strong cold fronts like this. So I just wonder whether the calendar shift is about 3 weeks behind.
Yeah, well, I see that. I saw doing the same thing as well. And, again, from my perspective, especially in the Midwest, when I'm dealing with a lot of farmers and people that plant a lot of grains and corns and wheat and soybeans, I mean, when I started doing this 25, 30 years ago, everybody was in the fields by mid-March. And now nobody gets in the field before April 1st. You just don't bother.
Right.
Because it's always raining and it doesn't happen. But in the meantime, I've noticed down here now, I guess New York and New England's a little different, but December is almost always an extension of November.
Yeah.
down here.
By the way,
Okay,
we had some nice snows in the Western Carolina mountains, mainly above 3,000 feet, and also I think the roadway on I-26, on your way to Gatlinburg,
yeah,
um, had some nice snow overnight. I got a couple of things here. First off, and then I want to talk about El Nino, and I've got the Pacific sea surface temperature map, which I'll put up in a second. But Johnny Quest on the chat board wants to know, I think we may have talked about this on the last show, but it's good to revisit it. The Hunga Tonga volcanic eruption, the undersea eruption that threw all the water in the stratosphere.
right.
I've made the perception that the weather's been pretty weird. We've had a lot of weird things happen over the last year, and that maybe this winter we're going to see more weird things. Your thoughts on that?
Well, what the argument with that has been that it's added a lot of water vapor into the atmosphere. So, and what's that producing is when you're getting your rains, you're getting the precipitation is coming down heavier. And
well, I also heard that I also heard and read that it may have added an extra 1.5 or 2 degrees to the global temperature last year. Just
it
that.
may have. I don't know if the data on that's conclusive or not. So I have to look on that and see. Remember a couple of months ago we had those catastrophic floods in Libya, where it came down the canyon walls and washed out the town.
Yes.
I mean that's the heaviest rain they've ever had.
Well, that was a Metacane.
Yeah, the Metacane. That's exactly right. Okay, and then look what happened 10 days ago in the Black Sea. They had a Metacane.
Yes, I saw that.
960 millibars in the Black Sea, the strongest storm of all time that they know of in the Black Sea since weather records began. Okay, and unlike America, weather records in the Black Sea area go back quite a bit longer than 1870.
Right. And the Black Sea is not the Gulf of Mexico.
No, it isn't. So that's a cold, nasty ocean, which explains why Russians are the way they are. But the point is.
Now listen, I have it on good authority that Vladimir Putin watches this show.
Yeah, right.
Sunday through Thursday at 7:35 p.m. Eastern time.
Yeah, you keep telling us.
Which means he's watching it like at 3:30 in the morning, Moscow time, right?
Right.
This T-Rex doubts the veracity of that statement.
All right, now I put up. This is the current from OSPO, NOAA.gov, the Pacific sea surface temperature. Actually, you can see the Atlantic too. I'm just eyeballing this, and I know you and I talked about this message-wise a week or so ago. I'm looking at this map, Dave, and I've got the map that I saved from back when you were first on at the end of October. And to me, I'm just eyeballing it. It doesn't look like this El Nino has gotten any stronger than what it was 6 weeks ago.
Right.
And yet I keep hearing strong and strengthening El Nino, blah 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 blah. Are we? You said that when we hit the peak was like a 2.06.
Yeah, 2.06, right. And since then, it's dropped down to right around 2.0, and it's holding that. So it's exactly on the threshold between strong and super El Nino. It's right on it's right there on the border. It's like it's like the Green Bay Packers. They're not a great team, but they're getting better. So it's right in the middle. It's exactly on the threshold between super and strong El Nino. So but it hasn't it's not crossed that. It went over that barrier for like 4 days, and now it fell back down again.
I'm noticing a couple of things. One is the cool current from Antarctica running up the coast of South America seems to have keep making progress moving northward. And the second thing I noticed that on this map on the Atlantic side is that the Gulf Stream, there are big patches of dark blue below normal temperatures off the mid-Atlantic coast. I have to assume that that's all the Gulf, that's where the Gulf Stream is. And that temperature, that Gulf Stream water temperatures are way below normal. I just wonder, there's just been argument that the argument about the fact that the Gulf Stream is, slowing down or maybe coming to a complete stop.
Yeah, well, that's They talked about that. There was a big statement came out today. So it was in the Guardian newspaper. About
Oh,
tipping
I know
points.
they love
Now, I
the
read
Gulf
the
Stream.
report, and if you get past the Guardian nonsense, you actually read the scientists' review of the tipping points. They mentioned there's an awful lot of variability, a lot of uncertainty, this sort of stuff. But there are critical tipping points which occur. Remember the book Malcolm Gladwell did several years ago called "Tipping Points"?
Yes.
When things reach a critical point, they flip over. You build a sandcastle, you get the sandcastle, and then you put one little piece of sand on there, and the whole thing flips over.
And I've made that argument with regards
right.
to I posed that question with regards to rising global temperatures. Do we reach a point where there's a tipping point and you get a very volatile reversal that goes, completely in the other direction?
That's what this new report is talking about, and it's got some interesting points to it. The thing is, if you call up that sea surface temperature map.
Okay, I'll bring it up again. Try to keep your mouth near your microphone, by the way.
Oh yeah. Okay, sorry about that.
That's all right. Go on.
Behave.
I have the map up.
All right. You'll notice there's a pool of blue water off the coast of Baja California.
Yes, we discussed that on the last show.
Right. That's known as the PMM, the Pacific Meridional Mode.
Okay.
It's in the negative phase. Okay. There's two phases to this. There's a positive phase and the negative phase. Last year, when we had a La Nina and that cold water off the coast of Baja, those two factors combined to make it a very strong La Nina, which produced a persistent monster trough on the West Coast. And all the atmospheric rivers they had in California, remember all those events, 11 of them, 12 of them, all the huge snows in the Rockies and into the West Coast, and then nothing on the eastern United States, not even like in Boston, not New York. No place got it because the trough was so powerful and so deep in the western U.S. because of the negative PMM off of California and La Nina. But now that negative PMM is interfering with the El Nino. So it's the same. That rule hasn't changed, but now it's not working with La Nina. It's working against the El Nino.
And that pool's been there. I mean, it's gotten a little smaller, but it's still been there. And again, I see that the current that runs up the west coast of South America is pushing below normal temperatures are now about halfway, and that's been coming further north too.
The other thing which I want to tell everybody about this is that my friends over at the World Climate Service, which is a service that I get access to and information from, they have deduced that the El Nino is shifting. It is changing from an east-based El Nino off the coast of South America to a Molokai. And you can see it there on the map. Okay. And if that in fact is the case, now Eric Weber over at the North Carolina Climate Station website, he's been arguing against that, but now he sees the data. He says, okay, maybe I'm kind of wrong, which is a huge statement for him because doesn't mean he's wrong about anything ever. But but in this case, he is saying it. Yes, it is changing. Now, last month, I thought those who were speculating that the El Nino is going to shift to the west and become Molokai were wish casting. But the data here now clearly shows it is shifting. If we end up with a Molokai El Nino in January and February, wow, this winter is going to rock. But we'll have to wait and see. I mean, that's another thing to keep in mind. We don't know that yet. So that's another significant trend that's getting overlooked is that shift to Molokai. So we'll see.
All right.
It's got a lot of promise if it happens.
I never doubt you, Dave.
I never doubt me either.
I didn't. Well, that I knew. that I knew. Let me see if I can get us back all. If this thing would just. By the way, this is not an internet problem or a broadcast problem. This is my operational software problem. Which is now it's back. Okay, there you go. Now we've got the 3-box. I'm just trying to
see here.
Any additional thought? Oh, you got another map? Yep, it works.
See if I can. Okay, let me clear this one out. This is what I want to show you. This one's going to knock you on your ass. Let's see here. Which one is it?
Dave, we're a G-rated show.
Okay. Really?
I mean, seriously. I
Okay.
could give you. I could give you a
No.
list of. I could give you a list of words that are totally acceptable.
Yeah, right.
Gas bag is one of them, by the way.
Okay, here's another one, which is really cool. Let me open this one up. All right. This is the European came out on Monday night, Tuesday. Yeah. And this is the polar vortex. These are the winds around the polar vortex. All right. So you see the line at the bottom there, the solid black line, that's the zero line. So when the winds are very, very strong at the top of the scale on the left-hand side, that means the polar vortex is very strong, and there's the Arctic oscillation is positive, and you don't get any phasing. All the cold air stays around the Arctic, around the polar vortex. But you can see all the blue lines as you go out into end of December, January. The blue lines drop precipitously, and the solid blue line there, which is underneath the black line, is the mean. So this shows a sharp, rapidly falling apart, weakening polar vortex, which is going to potentially fracture into 2 or 3 pieces. That's what this is showing. Okay. So that's another way. That's another piece of information that you can look at here. So again, that's a pretty bullish looking argument from the European ensemble. And let's see if I have one
By the
more.
way, Cecilia Hernandez on the chat board says, can you discuss what the MEI is doing?
The new number. I don't know if the new number's coming out.
What is the MEI?
Multivariate ENSO index.
Oh, okay.
That's what that is. I do not know if it's come out yet. I'll have to look and see. I should have checked it today. Did not. I was so busy. I did all these other things instead of what I should have been doing. Let's see here. And the other thing is now, this is, you're going to love this. Okay, what is this? This comes from Paul Rundy, a climatologist in Washington State. And he looks at waspy waves in the MJO and figures out the weather patterns for the next several weeks. Okay, so the dashed blue lines are negative anomalies, and the red lines are positive anomalies. So this is as of December 16th. This is 10 days from now. So you can see the persistent trough and the energy coming in from the Pacific Ocean into the western United States. Notice there's no blocking in Canada or Greenland, anywhere like that. So that's December 15th. The advantage of this is that this is not a model. This is not a model. It's completely independent of the models. Okay? So that's the great thing about this. Now we go to December 23rd. Now you see the huge red area in Canada? That's a blocking pattern which is developed, right?
Right.
Okay. And then you have a big trough in the Eastern Pacific. It's moving away from the West Coast. All right. So this implies a lot more cold air, and you have energy in Baja, southwestern states, low pressure there. So this is around Christmas. That has some potential. But then this is really interesting here. Oops, I don't want to do that. Wanted to go this. And then the last, this is December 29. Good googly moogly. Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? Monster trough in the Eastern Pacific, huge ridge in Western Canada, a titanic block in Greenland, and energy in the southern jet stream. Good googly moogly.
Well, if from your lips to God's ears, if for the snow lovers, they're all thinking along those lines.
Good googly moogly. Okay.
However, you think that ridge might get a little stronger and possibly shunt all of that energy and moisture over the southern states just to our south, and so Asheville, North Carolina gets buried with 20 inches, and New York City.
That works for me. That certainly works for me, Joe.
Well, if Asheville's getting it, I'm getting it here in Central Virginia. So, yeah, you can't know. This is just general ideas of what it is. It's not impossible to know at this point. So that's one of the things that it was showing. So it's a pretty promising looking pattern, I have to tell you. So
All right. What's Santa Claus getting you for Christmas?
Me?
Yeah, you.
There's no Santa Claus. There's no Santa Claus.
Oh yes, you lump of coal, you.
So I don't know. We'll get ourselves something, won't we?
Are you gonna get anything for Christmas? Isn't there? There's got to be something you want, something that's going to be under the tree for you.
Super Bowl Eagles? No, that's not going to happen. Not with that defense.
Well, didn't they lose?
Probably I get Amazon gift cards because I read everything at Amazon, and big on my Kindle and stuff like that. So they do that.
Good. That's good. I just,
Buy some more war games, that sort of thing.
you play you play war games on you play the
mostly
games?
board war games, not so much computers, unless the board game has been placed onto the computer software. That's mostly board games playing. I mean, I do a little bit of online, but I don't like to shoot them up and bang bang. I don't do that stuff. It's more,
Yeah.
industry.
I never got into that. I think there's you get I don't know, you get to a certain age and you just sort of shun technology to an extent.
Yeah.
So I never got into playing. I tried it, and I guess the idea of sitting in one place for hours on end just didn't appeal to me anymore.
Well, there are times when you want to do that. Look, when it's cold outside, it's storming outside. Sure, it's a great time to do it. I mean, and then you can't. I mean, before what you used to do is you have to leave the games up, so you finish playing them another time, and then that would either drive your mom or your wife crazy. But now what's happened is a lot of the board games are now on computer.
Right.
So you can actually save them on the computer and play them there, and nobody can complain to you.
That's true.
So.
All right. Coming up on it's 8:47 Eastern Time. Mr. Rea, do you have any parting questions for our guests?
No, I think we've just about covered everything that we need to cover tonight. Okay. And I'm still sitting on my my derriere, so that's good.
Well, yeah, that's a plus. You still have a pulse, which is good. We need,
more pulses.
Yes, we need you. All right, David.
Yes, sir.
I know it was last minute today. I'm glad you reached out to me and begged me
to. Hey, they might be doing a show.
All right. Well, we do a show. We do a show Sunday through Thursday at 7:35 p.m. We're on 5 days a week. We are.
Really?
Yes, yes. Taylor Swift watches this show.
Taylor Swift?
Oh, yes. Yes.
Is that when she's riding Cioffi?
She's oh God. she's lurking she's one of the people that lurk in the background.
Well, that explains why the system crashed.
It could be, you never know. But no, we've got a few people that lurk in the background. Some of them famous, some of them want to be famous, some of them not so famous. But they're all there, right, Joe? We know they're there.
I know. They're out there. We had quite a few viewers tonight, but we only have 88 likes. Am I going to ring the bell tonight? I don't know. We even had Dave Tolleris here.
I think Dave, through so much incredible information out there that they were mesmerized to the screen and just didn't have time to hit the like button. But now is your opportunity to get us over 100 likes, folks, because I don't know if I can talk anymore. And while you're hitting the like button, just to remind everybody that the Joe and Joe Weather Show is brought to you by our affiliate, Tempest by WeatherFlow. Get the revolutionary Tempest weather system, and you too can join the fastest growing observing weather network on the planet. The link is pinned at the top of the chat board. It's also on the descriptor to this video. And use the coupon code, and we have a coupon code, I want a weather station. And if you use it, Joe Rayo, what do they get?
Well, first of all, we got the bell because we hit 102 likes. Thank you very much. It's up to 105, and you get 10% off on anything you may purchase from Tempest. And I know that Dave Tolleris plans to get a Tempest weather station to augment all of the fantastic technological equipment he's already got. And it can only help to get something from Tempest. And if he acts now and uses the code I want a weather station, Dave, you'll get 10% off. Isn't that wonderful?
Dave, we'll give you a discount.
Okay.
What's your ruler? Is that a ruler?
What?
What's that yellow thing in your background, your fake background? Or are you broadcasting from the top of Mount Rainier?
Yeah, that's a ruler supposedly, yes.
What is that?
It's a ruler to measure the snowfall, yes.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, folks, we're wrapping it up tonight. Sorry for that little, technical glitch going on in the middle there, but these things happen on live streaming. So we'll see everybody tomorrow night at 7:35 p.m. Eastern Time. Nighty night.
Nighty night, folks.
Good night, folks. Later.